Trump suggested people with disabilities should just die, nephew reveals in memoir. Elon Musk denies reported $45 million a month pledge to Trump, says he doesn't subscribe to cult of personality. Trump threatens to skip Harris debate, rages. Trump suggested people with disabilities should just die, nephew reveals in memoir. Elon Musk denies reported $45 million a month pledge to Trump, says he doesn't subscribe to cult of personality. Trump threatens to skip Harris debate, rages at wasting time and money on Biden post-exit.
Ukraine's Zelensky discusses peace. Prisoners with senior Vatican official. Ukraine's top diplomat visits China, says Russia not ready for good faith talks, and Ukraine tells China it is open to talks if Moscow acts in good faith. China, Ukraine are friendly countries. Wang Yi tells Kuleba and China to continue boosting food imports from Ukraine. Reuters reports that poll says 32% of Ukrainians open to territorial concessions for quick peace.
Kim Jong-un anticipates Donald Trump's re-election, claims experts, and reportedly, North Korea rejects Trump's overtures, shrugs off U.S. election outcome. We do not care. SCMP comment as China's third plenum shows it is not in the mood to slow down on nuclear arms. Iraq eyes drawdown of U.S.-led forces starting September, sources say.
Kamala Harris will not be speaking at Bitcoin Conference 2024. In Israel, Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir endorses Donald Trump for U.S. presidency. Kamala Harris attacks Trump over fear.
Brazil's Lula urges Venezuela's Maduro to respect vote results, is frightened by talk of bloodbath. Recently, Maduro claims, without evidence, that elections in Brazil are not audited. Olaf Scholz to run for German Chancellor again in 2025. Bob Menendez to resign from Senate following bribery conviction.
Republican leaders urge colleagues to steer clear of racist and sexist attacks on Harris. Video of Kamala Harris saying today was altered. Reuters reports that Harris leads Trump 44% to 42% in U.S. presidential race, Reuters and Ipsos poll finds. George Clooney endorses Kamala Harris, praises Biden for dropping out. Mark Kelly stands out as Kamala Harris closes in on VP pick, and reportedly, Kamala Harris raised more in 48 hours than Donald Trump in June. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle resigns over Trump shooting outrage, and Secret Service encourages Trump campaign to stop outdoor rallies.
Rally in Detroit. Trump falsely accuses Harris of deciding to turn black during a combative panel with black journalists. Kamala Harris claims, "I've got a secret photo of her on Trump Force One."
Colorado clerk, who became hero to election conspiracists, wanted to preserve data, lawyer says. White dudes for Harris founders blame Elon Musk for X account suspension.
Wendy's cuts sales guidance as U.S. diner traffic declines. Shake Shack soars on call for first positive cash since 2017. Weight Watchers to cut jobs, spending as business declines.
Glencore's billionaire former oil head, charged with corruption by UK, Nancy Pelosi loads up on more Nvidia shares, sells part of Microsoft's stake before Q4 earnings. Boeing taps Kelly Ortberg, former Rockwell Collins head, as new CEO. Interpol recovers $41 million in largest ever BEC scam in Singapore. FTC sends nearly $1.9 million in refunds to customers harmed by Hey Dude's violations of the mail order rule. Bloomberg gives $600 million to 4 black medical schools endowments. 7 U.S. personnel injured in Monday rocket attack at Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq, including 2 evacuated for further care. Israeli hospitals declare themselves prepared for mass casualty events. Strikes on Israel to come from Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, claims Hezbollah leader. European Parliament calls on EU countries to provide weapons for Ukrainian F-16 fighter jets. Russia sends Iran air defense systems as fears of regional war loom. Reported by NYT. Russia says forces repel Ukrainian armored raid in Kursk region.
Italian fighters scrambled over Baltic Sea to intercept Russian aircraft. Zelensky confirms contracts for producing over 1M drones in 2024. EU governments give green light to €4.2 billion payout to Ukraine. X is closing San Francisco headquarters and relocating staffers to San Jose and shared space with X.AI in Palo Alto, CEO Linda Yaccarino says in leaked email, as Elon Musk says no choice but for X to shut San Francisco HQ. X and Rumble file antitrust complaint against Global Ad Group. Airbnb details plans to expand beyond short-term rentals, including co-hosting and relaunching experiences.
JP Morgan warns. UK economists say Reeves's first moves may undercut growth plan, and £50 billion more public spending needed each year for long-term growth, claims the think tank. Bloomberg reports that Chinese students are paying agents $50,000 for finance jobs as markets hours.
Mazda quietly ditched key fob remote start for subscription app. 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe recalled, hit with stop sale order over airbags. The Ram 1500 Classic will finally die after 17 years in production.
Canadian embassy in Israel to reportedly evacuate families of diplomats. Berlin student found guilty of incitement for chanting from the river to the sea at pro-Palestine rally. Israeli rights group, B'Tselem, says government torturing Palestinian prisoners.
In the UK, PM says communities will be safe in face of riots. Far-right groups plan to target homes in attack on lawyers, police told. UK probes whether state actors stoked far-right riots.
Former Pfizer manager gets 9 months for COVID insider trading. In South Africa, 8 shot dead, 5 arrested in sting operation on planned cash-in-transit robbery in Cape Town. More than $1 million worth of cocaine washes up on Florida beach after Hurricane Debbie.
Banks poised to seize more buildings in Hong Kong. PwC says, Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific to buy more than 100 aircraft as part of $100 billion Hong Kong dollars investment. China sets over 300 goals for socialist modernization by 2029.
2017 on AI demand and reportedly declaring crisis, South Korean firms tell managers to work 6 days a week. German factory orders rise first time this year on cars, metals. Chinese battery industry faces consolidation wave.
Japan's $1.1 trillion stock meltdown rewrote the record books, and Bank of Japan's Uchida says no rate hike when financial markets unstable. Japan hedge funds post best single-day performance. Goldman says, Japan spent $68 billion to prop up yen twice in second quarter, as Japan likely sold foreign securities to fund FX intervention.
Japan zaps into downsize overseas operations, CEO tells Kyoto. Boeing begins 777X certification flight trials with FAA. Jeremy Clarkson ends TV partnership with Richard Hammond and James May.
Kenya cuts budget, sees wider deficit after deadly protests. Japan likely spent some 3 trillion yen on intervention as yen jumps. Pakistan pledges $7 billion IMF aid deal will be its last.
King's speech to spotlight new UK government's push for growth. In Canada, reportedly, banks are expecting a wave of mortgage defaults.
BlackRock's Larry Fink embraces Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate, and BlackRock assets hit record high $10.65 trillion on ETF flows, rising stocks. SEC tells ETH ETF issuers fund can start trading next Tuesday, claimed sources. Thailand is set to roll out a controversial $13.8 billion handout plan in digital money to citizens.
In Italy, general government gross debt is €2,894 billion, rising towards 3 TEUR. Bank of Russia may increase key rate to 18% at July meeting. 1 month ago, it had been announced as Bank of Russia keeps the key rate at 16%. Powell indicates Federal Reserve won't wait until inflation is down to 2% before cutting rates, and Powell says U.S. data offer confidence that inflation is on path to
U.S. developing new extended-range missile for Ukraine's Air Force. South Korea to mass-produce lasers that can take out drones at $1.50 a hit. Western parts used in type of Russian missile that hit Kyiv Children's Hospital. Asian American community angered by erroneous report that Donald Trump shooter was Chinese. Trump shooter bought 50 rounds of ammo hours before assassination attempt and had transmitter on him. More than a dozen guns found at home of Trump rally shooter. 2 Trump rally attendees who were shot are in stable condition, police say. The FBI says it has gained access to the Trump rally shooter's phone.
Sabra superhero in Marvel's Captain America, stripped of Israeliness amid pro-Palestinian backlash. EU imposes sanctions on 5 Israeli individuals and 3 entities over rights abuses. A North Korean diplomat in Cuba defected to South Korea in November, Seoul says. Foreign policy comments as, Russians expect nothing from Putin's war, and number of children and youth in Russia approaching 55 declares Prime Minister. The population of England and Wales saw the largest annual increase in at least 75 years, growing by almost 610,000 to 60.9 million. 108,400 people immigrated to England and Wales from outside the UK, while 462,000 emigrated. This makes net international migration to England and Wales 622,000.
Porsche Panamera breaks class record at the Nürburgring with a 724 lap. The BMW M2 is Motor Trend's 2024 Performance Vehicle of the Year. GM CEO Bara backs away from 1 million EV production goal.
Panasonic CEO urges managers to embrace a sense of crisis. Salesforce cuts about 300 jobs in latest sign of tech austerity. The Candy Crush guys are secretly building a new puzzle game startup. Reportedly, Secret Service spotted Trump rally shooter on roof 20 minutes before gunfire erupted, and Trump gunman researched JFK assassination week before shooting. FBI finds no evidence that Trump shooter had accomplices. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley posts video of aftermath of Trump shooter's killing.
Netanyahu to meet Biden at White House on Thursday, Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Friday. Benjamin Netanyahu scolds critics of Israel's war in Gaza in speech to Congress. Musk's SpaceX Starlink service now active in a Gaza hospital after Israeli permission.
Is to resume negotiations with Russia. Japanese volunteer fighting for Russia in war against Ukraine dies. Moscow will respond to Japan's shift from nuclear-free policy, announced Deputy FM.
Turkish authorities detain Russian suspected in bombing that wounded 2 people in Moscow, and Russia intelligence officer injured in Moscow car bomb blast as Kiev's top diplomat holds deep China talks. Germany bans Muslim group citing extremism, ties to Iran and Hezbollah. In the U.S., Justice Department to recover nearly $85 million in additional funds linked to 1MDB scheme, after reached an agreement with Jasmine Louari Swan, the former general counsel of One Malaysia Development Berhad.
Russian arrested over alleged plot to destabilize Paris Olympics. 4 terror attacks thwarted in France before Olympic Games, announced Interior Minister. An Israeli national anthem booed at Parc des Princes, but no major disruption. Fake video of threat to Olympic Games appears to be from Russia, researchers say.
Poland calls on EU to stress ties with US to counter Russian disinformation. US banks to begin reporting Russian assets for eventual forfeiture under new law. Army chief says UK must double its lethality or be prepared for war in 2027.
Hamas and Fatah sign declaration on ending decades-long rift after talks in China, as Hamas and Fatah sign agreement in Beijing, ending their division, China says, and Russia welcomes signing of Beijing Declaration on Palestine, announced diplomat. UN chief welcomes agreement between Palestinian factions Fatah and Hamas. Israeli parliament votes to label UN relief agency a terror organization, and Israel slams Beijing deal to include Hamas in post-war Gaza government.
Reuters reports, Khaled Meshal, who survived Israeli assassination attempt, tipped to be new Hamas leader. Israeli army commanders gave order to blow up Rafah reservoir. IDF suspects breach of international law. Malaysia PM, Anwar slams Meta, after Facebook removes post on Hamas's Hanier.
At 30th round of talks on border dispute, China and India agree to speed up negotiations. Brazil to take custody of Argentine embassy in Venezuela, announced Milei. German president asks Poles for forgiveness on Warsaw Uprising 80th anniversary.
EU calls for maximum restraint after Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh's assassination. US, UK, France block UN condemnation of attack on Iran's embassy in Syria. Erdogan calls Israel's actions genocide in phone call with Pope Francis. Russia must be present at next peace summit to end war, Zelensky says. TASS reports that UFC's Barroso puts fighting skills to use training Russian soldiers in special ops zone. Top Russian senator says no way new territories going back to Ukraine, and Volodymyr Zelensky says giving up Ukrainian territories is a very, very difficult question.
Israel says it has confirmed that chief of Hamas military wing was killed in a July strike in Gaza. Iran's leader orders attack on Israel for Haniyeh killing, officials say. Reuters reports, Turkey blocks NATO and Israel cooperation over Gaza war, as sources say. Southport was just the spark. UK hit by unrest as far-right exploits knife attack tragedy. Police unit to be set up to tackle violence across UK. In wake of riots after Southport stabbings, recently, UK rocked by far-right riots fueled by online disinformation about Southport stabbings. And more than 100 arrested in London, as violence flares after Southport stabbings. One day ago, 17-year-old boy charged with murder of 3 girls after stabbing at Taylor Swift-themed event in Southport. English Defence League could be prescribed as terror organization, suggests UK Home Office Secretary Rayner. Nigeria bid to avoid Kenya-style dissent dampens protest turnout, as security forces fire tear gas as anti-government protests break out across Nigeria. At least 16 reported dead as Maduro meets Venezuelan protests with force, and I will carry you to Gitmo on a donkey, Elon Musk tells Venezuela's Maduro, as they battle it out online. And U.S. arrests a former Green Beret over the failed 2020 raid into Venezuela to remove Maduro. Venezuela's Maduro, opposition each claim presidential victory.
Iran buries senior Hamas official, as Israel braces for revenge, and China firmly opposes, condemns assassination of Hamas leader, announced by spokesperson. U.S. deploys 12 warships in Middle East amid rising tensions, reported by Washington Post, as the U.S. and British warships assemble off the coast, as Israel and Hezbollah crisis mounts. Reportedly, bomb smuggled into Tehran guesthouse months ago killed Hamas leader. Nobel laureate Yunus will head Bangladesh's interim government after unrest ousted Hasina. U.S. revokes Sheikh Hasina's visa after Bangladesh ouster, as former PM seeks asylum in the West, and reportedly, former Bangladeshi Prime Minister considers several countries for asylum. Attempting to flee country, 2 former Bangladesh ministers detained at Dhaka airport. In major reshuffle in Bangladesh Army, Major General Zia sacked. Bangladeshi former PM Begum Khaleda Zia, other oppositionists freed from prisons.
Hamas names Yahya Sinwar, mastermind of the October 7th attacks, as its new leader in show of defiance. Antony Blinken warns Iran and Israel not to escalate conflict in Middle East. Putin asks Iran to avoid civilian casualties in Israel response, sources say.
Maduro calls Venezuelans to delete WhatsApp in growing crackdown, and with Zionism behind this. After disputed election result, Maduro blames Jews for Venezuelan crises. Chinese-American posing as pro-democracy activist, spied on dissidents for Beijing, the plot of a spy novel. Russia detains Italian man for flying a drone near the Kremlin.
Hezbollah leader says group will respond but keeping Israelis waiting is part of punishment. Israeli minister says it may be moral to starve 2 million Gazans, But no one in the world would let us. Pakistan announces intention to supply arms to Iran at OIC meeting, claimed in a report 5 days ago. Iran, Pakistan call meeting of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, after Hamas leader killed. Moscow says Ukraine has launched cross-border attack inside Russia. Reportedly, Ukraine had a chance to blow up Russia's best warplanes on the tarmac. The White House said no, and now it's too late. It has been reported as Russia cannot launch a summer offensive this year.
In the U.S., Pakistani national with ties to Iran charged in connection to a foiled assassination plot potentially targeting Trump. U.S. neo-Nazi terror group aims to revive activities ahead of election. Reportedly, U.S. and China fentanyl cooperation deepens as Beijing tightens controls for precursor chemicals. Chuck Schumer unveils bill to axe Supreme Court's Trump immunity ruling. Trump promises lower interest rates, but the president doesn't control those. TASS reports that Trump closes gap on Harris in latest poll, two are neck and neck, and Washington Times reports that, for first time, Harris leads Trump in 2024 election betting odds, and Kamala Harris pledges to sign border bill that Donald Trump opposed.
Trump says he will do interview with Elon Musk on Monday, 12th of August, night. Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump in more than a dozen national polls. Harris versus Trump race is first since 1976 without a Bush, Clinton, or Biden.
Groups to defend Israel, poll finds. IDF confirms woman listed as missing since October 7th was killed during attack. Reportedly, race riots put Britain on collision course with Elon Musk.
FBI seizes Republican Representative Ogle's cell phone in funding probe. Rudy Giuliani agrees to deal to end his bankruptcy case, pay creditors' financial advisor $400,000. Former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis to cooperate in Arizona fake electors case, charges to be dropped.
Repeats baseless claim that Justin Trudeau could be the son of Fidel Castro. Yusha Vance defends husband's childless kid lady's comment as a quip in first solo interview.
Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz just kicked off their campaign in Philadelphia, and Kamala Harris video shows moment she asked Tim Walz to be her running mate. J.D. Vance called Tim Walz a San Francisco-style liberal. Walz visited the city for the first time last month, while Vance lived there for years. Trump campaign criticizes Walz for state law providing tampons in schools.
China and Russia see drill starts after flotilla sails past Japan, South Korea and Philippines. Chinese team says it can track U.S. warships using free low-resolution satellite images. China ramps up military education for younger ages to help sow seeds of patriotism. Solana sees arrival of Nomura, Brevin Howard-affiliated tokenization firm, Libra. Crypto exchange Gate.io exits Japan. U.S. government moves $4 million Bitcoin to Coinbase, Arkham data show.
Cross-chain service to bridge to issue governance token, completes activity snapshot. Iris Energy is positioned to become one of the biggest listed Bitcoin miners. Announced Canaccord, crypto-friendly bank, Revolut plans to sell $500 million of employee shares at $45 billion valuation, reported Wall Street Journal.
$1 billion net inflows on first day, and Citi predicts $5.4 billion Ethereum ETFs inflows in 6 months, while analysts see ETH at $5,000. Proton is introducing Proton Wallet, a safer way to hold Bitcoin, a self-custodial Bitcoin wallet. Mt. Gox moves $3 billion Bitcoin to new wallet, $130 million to Bitstamp exchange.
Lloyd's of London-backed insurance policies can now be paid for in crypto on Ethereum. Crypto.com surpasses Coinbase in trading volume as institutional demand grows. Terra blockchain halts operations after suspected exploit of Astroport tokens, ASTRO tanks 60%.
The Bahamas dares, again 1.5 years after FTX collapse, brings in new crypto law. UAE-based G42 working with US to meet AI standards amid China concerns. England's Law Commission proposes new property category for crypto assets. Tether nets $5 billion profits this year, says its U.S. debt holdings surpass Germany's. Ripple to allocate $10 million to tokenized U.S. Treasury bills on XRP Ledger. Popular, Simon's Cat, to join Cat Coin fray with issuance on Floki Launchpad.
See in July, data show. Nvidia becoming more volatile than Bitcoin and Ether. Montenegro to extradite Do Kwon to South Korea, rejecting U.S. request.
Online brokerage Photo offers crypto trading in Hong Kong with Nvidia, Alibaba stock as reward. Bitcoin miner Riot posts $84 million quarterly loss as post-halving era bites. The Philippines chooses Venom for groundbreaking national blockchain initiative.
Over $2.5 billion in crypto positions liquidated in 7 days. Reportedly, crypto market hits extreme fear, surpassing FTX collapse lows, and Bitcoin whales increased holdings during crypto market mayhem, but ETF investors didn't buy the dip. Hedge fund giant Capula reports owning $464 million in spot Bitcoin ETF shares. BlackRock and Nasdaq seek rule change to list options on spot Ethereum ETFs. Post-Wazirks's hack, India's CoinDCX starts investor protection fund with $6 million. Hong Kong virtual bank Mox starts Bitcoin, Ether ETF trading, plans direct crypto trading, and Hong Kong rules out more virtual banks, citing need for healthy development of sector. Binance challenges $86 million Indian tax show cause notice, claimed by source.
Who own guarantee data? Judge grants Tornado Cash developer Roman Storms request a delay trial over prosecutors' objections. Crypto casino founder apologizes for gambling away investor funds.
Argentina government tells citizens, declare your crypto or face extra taxes. South Korea lawmaker proposes 3 years delay on crypto tax implementation. Reportedly, China may lift crypto ban in fourth quarter amid economic crisis. Startup, Pearl, raises VC funding to bring AI to dentists' offices. Wiz rejects Google's $23 billion offer, seeks IPO instead. Hollywood visual effects firm Digital Domain to set up R&D base in Hong Kong Science Park.
Hunter Biden drops lawsuit against Fox News over explicit images featured in streaming series. Plane crash at Nepal's Kathmandu airport kills 18, pilot is only survivor. Multi-million-dollar crystal meth lab found hidden in remote South Africa farm. Mexican suspects arrested.
Zelensky says, "We are moving towards using our own missiles." EU to provide funding to Armenian military for first time. Hungary to block EU funds for member states until Ukraine allows Lukoil transit. Sijarda says, no alternative to Russian oil supplies to Hungary through Ukraine. Recently Hungary, Slovakia ask for EU help as Ukraine targets Lukoil.
Ambitious, and Ford abandons goal to go all-electric in Europe by 2030, where Hyundai Motor Group's U.S. EV sales jump 60.8% in H1. Tesla slumps as Musk tethers its future to delayed robotaxis, and Tesla's 2Q profit falls 45% to $1.48 billion, as sales drop despite price cuts and low-interest loans. Google parent Alphabet to invest $5 billion in Waymo amid profit and stock surge.
Modi pledges $24 billion for jobs, financial aid for allies, and India needs to sell assets to support spending, JP Morgan says. Also, India's measures to tackle youth unemployment crisis dismissed as inadequate. Turkey returns $5 billion Saudi deposit in show of economic confidence. Bank of Canada lowers key interest rate to 4.5%, hints more cuts could follow.
Lysol's maker Reckitt to sell some home care brands and review infant formula unit in shakeup. McDonald's to extend $5 value meal in most U.S. markets as diners return to restaurants. LVMH growth slows as China's slump weighs on luxury spending, and Rolex Formula One sponsorship in doubt as LVMH confirms talks, as Tag Heuer tussles with Rolex over $150 million Formula One sponsorship deal.
Sweden's Elekta faces possible sanctions after $3.2 billion loss 3 months ago. Elekta reports 5.9% Q1 return after losing billions on regional banks. UniCredit sets aside €228 million linked to Russia asset seizure. Bangladesh accepts court ruling to cut state job quotas after unrest, eases curfew, as Bangladesh factories, banks, stock market reopen as curfew eased. 4 days ago, Bangladesh police given shoot-on-sight orders amid national curfew.
Apple and Porsche are working together on an electric car. Ferrari extends cryptocurrency payment system to Europe after US launch. Toyota pulls off a fast and furious demo with dual drifting AI-powered race cars.
Falling Japanese car sales as Nippon Steel to dissolve joint venture with China's Bayoshan after 20 years. Bloomberg comments as China steel market jolted as new quality standards trigger sales. Nissan executive says Silvia could return as an affordable sports car.
Zelensky signs law on suspending Ukraine's external debt payments. US and Russia complete biggest prisoner swap in post-Soviet history, freeing Gershkovich and Whelan. Lufthansa Group suspends flights to Tel Aviv, Beirut.
Former Penn State fraternity leaders plead guilty in 2017 obstacle course, hazing death of Timothy Piazza. 14 sex buyers arrested, 10 victims recovered in human trafficking sting at Comic-Con.
Guinea court sentences former junta leader to 20 years in prison over 2009 stadium massacre. Jakarta court jails former Garuda chief over new graft case. Venezuelan attorney general says protesters use ketchup to simulate blood as NGOs report at least 11 dead, as Venezuelan opposition chief calls to mobilize to collect win. Accused September 11th plotters agree to plead guilty at Guantanamo Bay. Bangladesh bans Jamaat-e-Islami Party following violent protests that left more than 200 dead. Islamic State in Mozambique more active, sophisticated, UN warns. EU and Ukraine dismiss Hungary oil scare, saying transit is fine. Ukrainian politician says US wants to replace Zelensky with Budanov. US moves tanks and infantry fighting vehicles from Germany to base in Poland.
Drive-through locations in 2024, with a future vision to bring the technology to its brand's drive-thrus around the world. Google brings Gemini-powered search history and lens to Chrome desktop, and Google announces Gemma 2, a compact parameter-sized model based on the large-scale language model Gemma 2, Shield Gemma, which filters the input and output of AI models, and Gemma Scope, a model interpretation tool.
One out of every 15 Americans is a millionaire, UBS says. Undocumented immigrants in U.S. pay nearly $100 billion in taxes. 85% of good jobs in 2031 will require post-secondary education, report finds. 2025 Ford Maverick gets AWD hybrid, bigger screen, and tremor trim. Nissan teases new Patrol, Armada, Murano, and mystery small SUV. Stellantis CEO Tavares says, U.S. plants building too many vehicles that need rework.
Ford toying with the idea of a hybrid hypercar to battle Ferrari at Le Mans. Samsung delivers solid-state battery for EVs with 600 miles range, as it teases 9 minutes charging and 20 years lifespan tech. Uber teams up with China's Bide to offer 100,000 discounted EVs for drivers in Europe and Latin America.
In the UK, Royal Fleet Auxiliary officers to strike for first time in history. In the US, the Army bet $11 million on the ROC and UFL ginning up enlistments. It may have actually hurt recruiting efforts. Canadian military encounters Chinese research vessel in Arctic, warns competitors are probing infrastructure.
Record maple syrup harvest not enough, as Quebec eyes bigger bounty. India's import duty cut sparks revival of gold demand, just in time for the wedding season. EU issues UK with list of demands, if it wants better relationship.
Peru returns to global markets with first Eurobond since 2021. Greece's unemployment rate drops to 9.6% and 8%, fall under Mitsotakis' reign. In the UK, first-time buyers spending 40% of pay on mortgages, and Bank of England cuts rates from 16